The news day continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The Health Department confirms the local transmission of the Omicron BA.5 subvariant. Let's get more details. Faith Del Mundo is reporting to us live from Quezon City. Faith, can you brief us again and educate us on what's the difference between a local transmission compared to a community transmission of the virus?
Yes, Risa, DOH Yusek Maria Rosario Berjera in the Laging Handa public briefing explained there is actually no community transmission because in community transmission, it cannot see the linkages of the cases. Therefore, there is only local transmission because they can still trace the linkages of the cases. If there is already a community transmission here in the country, DOH actually needs to establish more evidence. Riza?
Faith, now you said that local transmission or they can trace it still. Do we have an update on the country's first two Omicron BA.5 patients and their close contacts?
Yes, Riza Berjera said there are two confirmed local BA.2 Omicron sublineages cases. They are from Region 3. One female is 39 years old and the other one is 51 years old male. They traveled from Bulacan during the election time and they also visited NCR last May 15 and their symptoms of cough and colds were onset. They actually immediately had their RT-PCR test and the test results are positive and they are actually isolated from May 16 to 30 and now they have both recovered. Both of them are actually fully vaccinated and with booster doses and their close contacts were only two households and the other one tested positive and the samples were already submitted to Philippine Genome Center to find out if it is also an Omicron subvariant. And all of them traveled within only the country and no history of outside the country travels. Riza?
Faith, some experts are calling for the lifting of COVID-19 state of emergency. What did the Department of Health said about this?
Yes, Riza Berjera explained that the public health emergency was declared by the WHO and therefore they are the only one who can lift it. Or they can only, in the country, what the Philippines has only is the state of calamity and lifting it can cause operational implication because it is also tied on the emergency use authorities of our vaccines and the COVID medicines and the health human resource benefits and emergency procurement. Riza?
Faith, we're transitioning to the next administration in less than a month. Do you have any inkling as to this government will retain this administration will retain the alert levels?
Yes, Riza, the DOH goal actually at the end of Duterte's term, the whole country will be in alert level 1. However, the vaccination coverage of other areas is still low. But the DOH recommends to the next administration not to remove the alert levels. It is for the safeguard and guide for the risk level of the country, and they suggested to retain it. Riza?
Faith, would like to ask also updates on other news. We heard about, the LTFRB is, of course, hearing reports about TNVS imposing so-called priority boarding fee. What does the LTFRB's move on this?
Yes, LTFRB Executive Director Maria Cristina Casion said they receive a complaint against a transportation company, the Joyride, for charging 1,000 for a one-way ride due to the so-called priority boarding fee. They deployed mystery riders and found that Joyride was charging as much as 1,000 pesos for a one-way ride due to its priority boarding fee. And they arrested the driver that overcharged their mystery rider. LTFRB already sent a letter last May 24 to Joyride demanding it to explain why its accreditation as a transport network company should not be suspended or revoked within 10 days from the receipt of the show cause order. Riza?
One final question, Faith. Can you give us the latest on the preparations for the inauguration of Vice President-elect Sara Duterte?
Yes, Riza, Davao City Police Officer spokesperson Police Major Gaspan said they are already preparing for the upcoming inauguration of Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. They will intensify their security measures for the oath-taking of Duterte in Davao City following the recent bombing incidents in Coronadal City, South Cotabato, and Tacurong City, Sultan Kudarat. And there are actually 2,000 personnel will be deployed for the upcoming inauguration of Vice President-elect Sara Duterte. Riza?
Thank you for all those information. That was Faith Del Mundo reporting live from Quezon City. Meanwhile, trolling and fake news remain to be some of the biggest challenges in the country, and these were further aggravated during the recently concluded elections. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro has the report.
A few days before Election Day, Jem Almadin shared in Facebook a survey showing Vice President Leni Robredo leading. But in less than 2 hours, a surge of anonymous accounts flooded her comment section.
Sobrang wala akong mutual friends sa mga nagko-comment. Yung friends niya, parang less than 10, less than 20. Diba? Tapos same sila lahat ng sinasabi.
But what's most interesting with Jem's case is that Jem doesn't really have a big following in social media, and her post didn't go viral. Jem was just another regular user. Yet she feels she was targeted. Because of this, even the Commission on Elections has proposed a law to punish trolling during the election season.
It should not only be punishing them with cyber libel. It should be more than cyber libel.
Professor Danny Arao of the UP College of Mass Communication agrees something must be done against fake news and trolling. But Arao fears that once government dips its finger into social media content, it may infringe on freedom of speech and the press.
Anything and everything could be labeled as fake news. Look, Duterte himself labels as fake news peddlers the likes of Rappler, ABS-CBN, and other critical media.
Virgil Santos of the Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility says the possibility that government intrudes into free and critical speech is very real.
I have observed a very unequal implementation of the law. I mean, we have seen this, especially in the case of progressive thinkers, in the case of leftists. Kawawa yan. Pwedeng masagasaan yan.
Arao says a more urgent concern by government should be troll-like behavior that endangers people, like red tagging.
If you accuse someone without any basis of being a communist, that by itself is already red tagging. Okay? So, or if your evidence is very, very dubious, then that can be easily established in court that there is the lack of proper evidence.
In Germany, denying the Holocaust or the time when Adolf Hitler committed genocide against the Jews is illegal both on and offline, and is punishable for up to 5 years in prison. Arao said this type of law should be applicable in the Philippines, focusing on the atrocities and plundering during the martial law. Arao said this wouldn't transgress free speech, since these behavior would fall under hate speech. But for Arao, the best strategy would be closer coordination with legitimate news organizations, the academe, and social media platforms. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Some displaced Ukrainians take a look back at what they experienced as today marks the 100th day of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Let's watch this.
Мы думали, это быстро, все равно не быстро. Домой хочется. Очень. И дети тоже, и друзья там оставались, и наши друзья, и работали. Ну, а теперь потеряли все, и когда мы вернемся, не знаю. А тут, да, спасибо большое нашим волонтерам, всем, что они помогают нам, это огромнейшее. Без них мы никуда.
Мы с Харькова приехали. Мы в мае месяце выехали, все это время сидели там. Ждали все лучшего, но лучшего нет. Ну и решили, что надо садиться на эвакуационный поезд и ехать. Конечно, домой. Оставаться нигде не хочется. Хочется в родной город, в родной дом. Но пока еще стреляют, бомбят, поэтому пока нет. Ну, очень хочется домой.
Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention says over 700 cases of monkeypox have been recorded worldwide. Of this number, 21 were logged in the United States. The CDC noted, though, that all patients are either in recovery or have already recovered and that no cases have been fatal. The MRT-3 management has tightened its security measures for the rail line following a series of bombings in Mindanao. Thorough checking, screening, and inspection are being done for all baggages. Several K9 units have also been dispatched. And motorists should brace for another big-time oil price hike. Unioil projects that prices of diesel would increase by up to 6 pesos and 50 centavos per liter next week. Gasoline prices are likewise expected to rise by up to 2 pesos and 70 centavos. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.